Labor has been calling on the government to draw a line in the sand, this in regards to the US strikes against Iran. The party says the attacks were a clear breach of international law and is calling on the government to state them as such. Chris Hipkins is the Labor Party leader and he's with us this morning from Wellington. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. So you're certain, Penny Henare, your spokesperson, certain that this is a clear breach of international law. Which law?
Well, so basically, in order to do what the US have done, they'd need to either have a mandate from the United Nations Security Council, they don't have that, or they would need to demonstrate that they were acting in self-defence because an attack from Iran was imminent, and they haven't been able to demonstrate that either. So they're using the self-defence leg of that in order to try and justify their actions, but they haven't produced any evidence to suggest that an attack from Iran was imminent. So that makes this attack by the US an illegal attack, and I think the New Zealand government has previously taken a principled position on these things, even when it's people who we have a good working relationship with involved. We took a principled position on the invasion of Iraq, for example, did not get involved in that, called that out, and look how that turned out. New Zealand was right, and I think in this case, I don't think New Zealand should sit on the fence in the way that our government has been. I don't think we want to see the escalation that we're seeing now, and I think us continuing to be principled is the right thing for New Zealand. We should stand up for New Zealand independence and New Zealand values.
Do you not see the Houthis in Yemen attacking US assets or Hezbollah attacking US assets, these are proxies for Iran, as legitimate attacks on the US?
Look, I'm not going to form a judgment on those particular attacks. The US has responded.
But hang on.
And
Chris,
in some cases,
Chris, that's important.
And in some cases, the New Zealand government has actually supported those things.
That's exactly what the President of the United States has referenced when making the attacks that they've made. He is saying that this is part of a self-defence defence. And you're saying that they have clearly breached international law, but you're not willing to make a call on this. Does that not prove the government's point that it's too early to say?
What you will find is that there is a very significant body of opinion internationally that the US has not met the criteria that they need to acquire in order to justify the attack that they have made. The idea that you attack you bomb another country in order to stop them developing nuclear weapons or in order to stop nuclear proliferation is an alarming idea. If we start saying, okay, in order to stop the development of nuclear weapons, we just bomb everybody, that is what is quite literally called mutually assured destruction. And I just think that is a terrible approach for the world to in any way endorse.
Okay. Why do you think our allies, why is Australia, why is Albanese not saying what you're saying?
We're an independent country. We've always formed our own views. Australia and the UK both supported the invasion of Iraq. New Zealand didn't. We form our own opinions here, our own stances, and I think that that's important for New Zealand.
We just had Shane Jones on the program. He's got a members' bill that he's proposing. I don't think he's actually written it yet, but he wants one deal for Ngāpuhi, and says that if we wait to get 5 different deals between different hapu, then we'll be waiting until 2040 and before anything's signed. He's also taken aim at the Labor Party and it's this idea that you can write into treaty settlements, question the sovereignty of Parliament in treaty settlements. Is that Labor Party position? Because he's painting it as such.
No, it doesn't question the sovereignty of Parliament at all. The previous clause that we're talking about, an agree to disagree clause, recognises that for many iwi, they won't sign up to a treaty settlement that says that Māori ceded sovereignty when they signed the Treaty of Waitangi. Now, there's a huge body of academic opinion to suggest that that's correct. That the different translations, the different meaning of the words, the different interpretation of it at the time suggested that Māori didn't willingly sign over sovereignty. Now, the Crown has subsequently asserted it, and we have one government for New Zealand. The agree to disagree clause recognises both of those things. So I don't think that that's in any way a threat to the sovereignty of New Zealand's Parliament. And look, frankly, if Shane Jones thinks there should be one settlement for Ngāpuhi, perhaps he should go up there and tell them that and see how that goes.
Hey, he also, in the interview, I don't know if you've heard him use this term before, but he called you Ken. Have you heard him call you Ken before? We actually have apparently we have a clip of it. Hang on a second, I'll play it for you so you can hear what he's talking about. Hey, Shane, what did you call Chippy? Ken?
Yeah. No, well, he's not a female, so he's the Ken of New Zealand politics. Very vacant.
Why? Because he's like, what are you getting at? Like Barbie Ken?
Well, obviously.
Like no. I don't know what that's about. Do you know what it's about?
I think Shane just needs to grow up.
Speaking of growing up, you had some MPs swearing in select committees the other day. Did you tell them off?
I've actually only just arrived back, so we've got our caucus meeting today. Look, I understand their frustration. This government just constantly stonewall and refuse to answer legitimate questions about what they're doing and where they're spending money and to be accountable for what they're doing in government. So I understand that's frustrating, but I think we need to make sure we keep our language around this place family friendly. We need to uphold the standards of Parliament. So that'll be the message that I give to them today.
Keep it PG, team. That'll be the message. Hey, you mentioned your trip. So you've been to Ireland and to Denmark, and you were there because your team sent me what you were doing over there. You were there to discuss progressive economic growth, productivity, and sustainability. What did you learn from Denmark?
So if you look at both Denmark and Ireland, countries of similar size to New Zealand population-wise, if you went back 30, 40 years, similar sized economies, similar makeup to the economy, so very big focus on the primary sector. Both countries have now significantly leapfrogged New Zealand. And so I think, much greater growth per person, in terms of their economy, much higher standards of living, frankly, than here in New Zealand. So I was there to look at, say, well, what did they do that we didn't do that means that we've lagged behind them? So active government in those areas, particularly around the primary sector. In Ireland, very active government around the tech sector, focused on making sure the economy is creating good, well-paid jobs. In the private sector, they've had very active government policies around that. So, that's certainly, I think there's lessons that we can adopt here in New Zealand from that.